in all honesty, I thought the night was over. I thought it was going to end just like any other Saturday night. But I had no idea that the part that I would remember the most, it hadn't even happened yet. And it would turn into something special and magical. And not only that it would change the way that I would view the world, the way that I would see people, and the way that I would listen to music for the rest of my life. Let me take you back to 1989. It was late fall, just like now, and it was definitely late at night. And I found myself somewhere in North Scottsdale, standing in the entryway of this beautiful, beautiful, huge home. And it was designed and decorated professionally. There was artwork all over the walls. And in the den, as you walk in, stood this beautiful, beautiful grand piano, which at that point at night looked like a conversation piece or a sculpture more than an instrument. And it was hard to believe, it was very hard to believe that a few minutes prior to all this happening, in this house was a wild, wild house party. But now there was only about maybe a dozen or so of us left. And just like always, we're taking the longest time to say goodbye. You know, you've been there, you've hugged everybody 2 or 3 times, you have shaken hands 2 or 3 times, and conversations just keep popping up. Meanwhile, I went back to the kitchen to make another drink. I mean, why not? Nobody was in a hurry to leave anyways. And the coolest thing about that was next to the bar stood this boombox. And it was still turned up loud enough that you can hear the radio over the commotion. Howard Jones's Things Can Only Get Better was just coming to an end. And then Tears for Fears, Sowing the Seeds of Love, that was next. And really, on a night like that, isn't, quote, DJ the man you love the most, end quote? Oh man, the 80s. So I'm in the kitchen, and I'm pouring my drink, and suddenly, out of nowhere, my best friend for the last 36 years, Tom Sawyer, he bursts into the kitchen, and he's pulling me out. And as he's doing this, he's pulling me across the room, and he's yelling at me, and he's telling me, "Dude, you have to meet Stacy's dad. Oh my gosh, I didn't think he was going to be here tonight, but you have to meet him. He just showed up, and I can't wait to introduce you. Come on." That's Tom Sawyer. That's my best friend. He's always intense. He burns bright all the time. And he's the kind of person that believes that every moment in time is there for us to experience deeply, or it has something to teach us. And you know what? He's always right. He's always right about these things. So, how we met and why I call him Tom Sawyer, well, that's an even crazier story than this. It was music that initially brought us together, and it was truly a divine intersection. It really was. But that is another story. So back to the kitchen. I pull my arm back, and I'm half joking and I'm half serious, and I say, "Dude, I was just making another drink. What are you doing?" And I turn around to go back to making my drink, but then he gets in between me and the counter, and he walks up to me and he grabs me by the face with both hands. And now he's serious, and he looks into my eyes, and he says, "It's once in a lifetime. Every moment in life is once in a lifetime. You're not going to get it back. It won't be presented to you ever again. And this one is already fading. Don't waste it." And he walks backwards out of the kitchen, and he's looking at me with a face that says, "So are you coming or not?" Just then, I could hear Tears for Fears through the radio telling me that it was time to eat all your words, swallow your pride, open your eyes. And so, yeah, I followed him out of the entryway. Why? Because he's always right about these things. So I walk out into the entryway where everybody else is. The small crowd is still there. Everyone is still saying goodbye, taking their sweet time, and I see them. I see Stacy's parents, and I see this man, impeccably dressed, and he's wearing a suit, tailored, of course. His wife, dressed in an elegant evening gown, and they're both just refined, beautiful, and exquisite. And Tom Sawyer, he's already there talking and chatting with them like they're old friends. Of course he is. That's how he always is. And so he introduces me formally, and I extend my hand, and I'm like, yes, pleasure to meet you. And he stops me, and he says, please, call me Rich. Immediately after that, in Tom Sawyer fashion, typical Tom Sawyer fashion, he starts pestering Rich. And he's gesturing over at the piano, and he's saying, Rich, what would it take for you to play something for us tonight? And the room freezes, almost like the scratch on a record. You know what I mean? Everything gets quiet, and everyone turns towards Rich. And the crowd, they start to chime in. Yeah, play us something. Come on, Rich, play something. And suddenly I'm thinking to myself, I'm very curious. I'm like, wait a minute. Who is this guy? I mean, can he even play that thing? How good is he? And is he actually going to play something for us tonight? But Rich, he smiles and he totally refuses. He's like, no, this is your party. And he looks over at his wife and he says, we're going to bed. Good night, everyone. It was nice meeting you. And they start to leave the room. And so the crowd at this point, they're kind of deflated now. But leave it to Tom Sawyer. He's not done yet. Typical Tom Sawyer fashion, he yells out, oh, come on! And he's like, this party's over anyways. There's only a few of us left. You can think about it as the after party. And then his daughter, Stacy, she jumps in. Yeah, Dad, just a couple songs. And then Rich's wife, at this point, she's giving him that smile. You know that smile, the twinkle in the eyes, the tilted head and the crinkle in the nose. And so finally, Rich, he gives up and he's like, okay, you guys win. If you want to hear something, maybe I'll play you a song or two. And the room erupts. And so we follow him to the piano. And at this point, Rich, he's taking off his jacket and he's placing it on this big sofa behind him. And he turns to the piano. And now it's completely silent. And the only thing you can hear is the creaking of the bench as he sits down and arranges himself at the piano. Now I'm standing to his left. And the others, they form a circle around the piano. And all of a sudden, this fluttering feeling in my stomach, this anticipation, like the beginning of all the concerts I've ever been to, I'm feeling it, but it's more intense. This is different. It's more intimate. And there's this underlying electricity flowing between all of us. And if that wasn't enough, on the opposite side of the piano, Tom Sawyer, he's trying to get my attention, and he's pointing at his fingers like he's coaching me. He's like, just listen. He's mouthing the words, just listen. All eyes are on Rich as he closes his eyes and then places his hands on the keys. And then he begins to play. What followed was something so indescribably beautiful. It was slow, melodic, delicate, masterful, passionate, and emotional. And if I had to compare it, I would say it was something similar to Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, number 14. But this was much more personal. It was beautiful. And as he was playing, I couldn't help but notice a few minutes in, warm tears were forming in my eyes. and I couldn't hide it. I didn't care. All I could do was just listen and experience it. After a few minutes of playing, of all of us quietly listening, the song ends. And at this moment, I'm already satisfied. My soul is filled, complete. But then he plays another song. And then after that, he plays another one, then another one, then another one. Each song evolving from soft classical to more now of a contemporary singer-songwriter vibe. And each one, it's getting progressively louder and faster. And then he really gets going. And it gets wild. And before you know it, we're on a roller coaster ride until finally, he hits us with something similar to, I would say, like Jerry Lee Lewis's Great Balls of Fire. I mean, we are going crazy. And if that wasn't enough, after that, he starts playing more modern rock and roll songs that now I can recognize. And his hands are flying all over and up and down the keyboards. His arms are flailing all over the place. And now he's not playing for the 12 of us standing around the piano. No, he's playing for the sold out concert behind his eyes, in his mind. And he's lost in the music, and so are we. Not one person is standing still as we're all set free to move, to dance, to shake, to laugh, to sing, to yell, clap. I mean, we had our arms around each other. We're jumping up and down, just going absolutely crazy. Until finally, we were moving as one, and we were connected. We were all connected through the music. And at that point, there are no job titles anymore. There are no age gaps. There's no status. There's no divisions. Nothing is dividing us. None of that mattered anymore. The only thing that mattered was the music. Once the last note of the last song fades out into our applause, I mean, we're cheering, we're trying to catch our breath, we're wiping the sweat off of our foreheads, and we're waiting for the next song. But there would be no next song. What? Wait. No next song? Rich stands up, and now I'm coming out of this trance. And now he has his jacket draped over his arm, his wife clutching his other arm, and he's standing before us. And he politely says, with gentlemanly grace and humility, "Thank you, everyone. Good night." And he turns to leave. And I'm like, no, Rich, don't leave. And he turns to leave, but then he looks back over his shoulder and he says, this is the funny part. "Oh, and before you all leave tonight, would you please remember to make sure that my house looks the way it did when I left earlier this evening. Thank you." And then he disappears down the hallway. And as I watch him disappear down the hallway, my heart sinks. And I'm like, no, Rich, come back. And I'm just wishing for one more song. Selfishly, Rich, bring us back to that moment one more time. This story, it isn't just about a party. This is a story about the moment that my best friend, the one who never wastes a moment, shoved me into that moment. And again, it changed the way that I see the world, the way that I look at people, and the way that I listen to music forever. When we were leaving, I was just thinking to myself, we went from 100 or so people all the way down to a scene of just a dozen of us around the piano that I will never forget. I will never forget. I remember driving home with Tom Sawyer. He always drove because I couldn't. And we were going north on Scottsdale Road, and we were just passing Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard. And he was just sitting there listening to me, just go on and on and on about this night. And I'm rambling, and the sun is coming up, and I'm just trying to process the night out loud, and he let me do that. And he always just listens to me, and every once in a while he'll say something, and after I'm done processing this, he looks over at me with this grin, and with this trickster smile, he just says, "Told ya." He's always right about these things. So now I've adopted a thing that I do. Every time, and I still do this to this day, every time that I'm around a musician and they have their instrument with them, and of course if the time and place are appropriate, I always approach them and I always politely ask them, "Excuse me, will you play something for me?"